Okay, I got a scary story of what happened to me. This was like 9 years ago. When we first moved into this house, we rented a house, and it was a 1 bedroom, and it was me, my boyfriend, and our 2 kids. So we moved in that place, and the next morning, my boyfriend went to work, and my oldest went to school. I stayed home with my little one. He was about like couple months. Yeah, he was like a couple months old. And I was gonna go lay back down, and I laid on my stomach, like flat on my stomach. And my little one was in his crib, and I was just on my phone, trying to go at least try to go sleep, back to sleep for like an hour. And I swear, I felt someone leaning over me, like with their hands on the side of my hips, like going down. Like, you know when you feel someone sitting down next to you in the bed and it goes down? That's what I felt on the side of my hips. Like I felt something, like someone going over me, and I froze. Oh my god, I fucking froze. My body, it froze, but I couldn't move to go see who the fuck was behind me. Like, who the fuck is that? I know it wasn't my boyfriend. I didn't hear no key or nothing, so it wasn't him. But I froze. Like I couldn't move. Like it was. Whoa! Like I closed my eyes because I didn't want to look. I don't know why. Like something just made me stay still. It, like I felt paralyzed. Like that's how bad I couldn't move. I was freaking the fuck out. But I don't know why. My mom's like, okay, close your eyes, pretend you're asleep, so it goes away. I ended up falling asleep, and I didn't wake up an hour later. I woke up an hour later by my little one crying, and I got up, got him out of his crib, and then I thought about it. I was like, holy shit, hold on. Did I just dream about that? No, I didn't. So I looked to the front door. It was locked, top and bottom. I looked through my window. The screen was still on. I looked through the back door of the kitchen. It was locked. Another laundry. We have a laundry room that has another door that is locked. So I was like, how the fuck that happened? And I'm like, what the fuck? Did I dream about that? What the? Like, I was tripping the fuck out. Then, like, after a couple of weeks later, this lady that used to live across the street from my mom, she seen me at that place, and she was like, hey, you live here now? I was like, yeah, I live here. She goes, oh, okay, that's good. And she was like, yeah, I used to know someone that used to live here. I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, but he died. He died? And I looked at her. I was like, what do you mean died? And she was like, no, not in the house. I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, but in the front gate. And I'm like, the front gate? She's like, yeah, he went to get his mail, and I guess he had a heart attack, and he fell right there, and they found him on the floor. I was like, oh my god. And when she told me that, I thought about it. I was like, oh my god, no, hell the fuck no. Oh my god, she told me that, I got the chill. I was like, what the fuck? The owner never told us that somebody had died here. Not even mentioned or nothing. Not at all. I remember my brother told me that he remembers passing by this house like a long time ago. I think it was little. That he will always say he always pass by that house, and it's always drug addict people, like crackhead people living there. Like always, a lot of people going back and forth to that place, like selling crack and shit. A lot of more things that happened to that place that we used to live in too. Like we always be hearing someone coming out to the kitchen, like you know, someone's walking and it gets louder. And that's what we always hear from the kitchen to the living room. You know, I'll be looking out to see who was coming out of the kitchen, and there'll be no one. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm thinking, is that my kids? Like, no, honey, they're asleep. And it always happened at nighttime. Always at night. This is scary. I might say it to another story. That my boyfriend thought he seen me through the circle mirror that I had on the wall. He thought he seen like my face there, but it wasn't me. But yeah, that's all the story I have for that. That happened to the new place that we did. Okay, I'm gonna get off. I'll save more other stories. A couple more stories that I have. Some scary shit that had happened to us. Alright, I gotta go. Bye. Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna be telling you guys another scary story, but this time it's gonna be one of my experiences, the time I encountered La Muerte. So this all happened last year in April, so this was after I had my second born. Just to make it fucking clear, because I know a lot of you guys don't believe in the paranormal and you guys will try to see the logic behind what I saw, but yes, so just to make it clear, no, this wasn't because of lack of sleep, because I know a lot of people say that once, like after having a baby, you know, you start to lose sleep and you start to see visions. No, this was all real, okay? Okay, so at the time after having my second born, I have always been scared of SIDS, okay? So I remember me and my boyfriend made a plan. So he would have to watch over my baby while I slept, while I got my full 8 hours of sleep, and I would do the same. So we would take turns and watch over both of our babies. So at the time, my 3-year-old was 2, and obviously my baby was just born. Okay, so I remember at the time I was laying down on my bed and I was scrolling on TikTok, and my 2-year-old, he was sleeping right next to me, and so was my baby. I honestly don't remember where my boyfriend went. I don't remember if he was working or if he went to go get us some food. But I remember I was alone and I was scrolling on TikTok. And I was laying right there, okay? So I had my back against the headboard. And since I was scrolling on TikTok, I remember having my phone like this. So it was blocking the yellow light. But I moved it over so I was able to see everything, you know? I was able to see my phone, the lights. I was able to see my 2-year-old and my baby on the other side. So as I'm watching TikToks and I'm laying down and I'm scrolling, I see something cover the light. Like, so I see a big shadow behind my phone, and obviously I fucking notice it because it's so dark that like the shadow is around me. So I'm fucking curious and I moved my fucking phone over to see what the fuck that was, and that's where I saw it. I saw La Muerte, okay? Oh my god, I don't want to say it out loud, so bear with me, okay? So I'm fucking shocked, okay? I don't see a fucking face, but obviously I see the thing in its hand and I see the outline of it, and I knew what it was, okay? And so I froze in fear. Usually I'm the dumb blonde in movies who, if they hear a fucking sound, I'm gonna go check it out. If I hear something, I see something, bitch, I'm gonna go check it out. But this moment, I swear to God, I've never frozen like I did when I saw this. When you see death, you know, like, oh my God, like someone is dying. Like, if you usually see her, you know a close one or you might be fucking dying. So when I saw this, I just didn't know how to react. I just fucking froze. I hear it say something and it tells me, like in Spanish, like, estoy aquí para llevarme a tu hijo. After baby, bro, tell me why the fuck I was telling you guys this fucking story and I see my 3-year-old trying to bug his 1-year-old. Bitch, I got fucking scared. I was like, what the fuck is that? So after the shit vanishes, I grab my fucking 2-year-old and I go up and I grab my fucking baby out of his crib and I put them with me as close as possible, okay? I don't want to leave them alone. Okay, a few minutes go by. I grab both of them and I take them out there. I make sure I call my mom and I tell her what fucking happened. And she starts telling me to pray. She starts telling me like, oh my God, as soon as you saw it, you should have started to pray. So she's praying. She's telling my dad what I just encountered, and obviously since she knows that muerte obviously means death, and obviously it means like someone is going to be passing away, they know like, oh shit, like this is serious. So my mom calls some family members up in Mexico and she tells me what I just saw, and everyone just starts to pray, okay? Everyone starts to pray. And I remember the following week was by far like the scariest fucking week of my life. Every time I was getting up to do something, I would see it. It would be standing right there in the other room just watching me. And I knew it was fucking watching me, even though I couldn't tell its face. I knew it was fucking watching me because I just felt like darkness, and I just felt like the eyes on me, right? So when I would get up to go to the bathroom, it would be right there. If I would go do something else, I would see it on the other side of the door or on the hallway, and it would always be fucking watching me. And this was going on for several days, and eventually I broke down because I was like, maybe it is time. Maybe my baby something's going to happen. So it got to a point where I was losing sleep at this point, because I was like, you know what, I'm not sleeping anymore. Because at the time, my boyfriend, there would be times where it was his turn to watch over the baby, and I would wake up from my sleep in the middle of nowhere, and I would see that my boyfriend had fallen asleep. So I was like, you know what, like, he is not taking me serious. He doesn't believe in paranormal, so he thinks like it's not true, and if you feed into it, you give it what it wants, and more things are most likely to happen. So yes, it got to the point where I was starting to get really angry with him, and eventually I was starting to lose sleep because I felt like I couldn't trust him to watch over our baby. Eventually my mom tells me like my family members in Mexico called and everything was going to be okay. She just told me to pray, like if anytime I felt like we were unsafe, just to pray. If I felt like we were being watched, to pray. And I do as I'm told, and eventually I don't see it anymore and everything goes back to normal, okay? So that was the last time I saw La Muerte, and actually it was the first and last time I encountered her. And honestly, saying its name out loud it gives me the fucking chills. I feel like after that, I think like that has to be like one of the most scariest thing I've witnessed or encountered.
If you're sensitive to the paranormal world, make sure you protect yourself before you listen to the story, because it does in fact have to do with a jinn. The person who submitted this, of course, wants to be anonymous. This actually happened to her great grandmother, who we're gonna call Alba. Many years ago, Alba, her husband, and 5 kids lived in a small little village located right outside of Uzbekistan. On the property right next to their house, there was this very large hole in the ground that they never really understood what the purpose of it was, and it just sat there for absolutely no reason. Alba got tired of looking at this hole, so she told her husband to cover it up. He went ahead and covered up with dirt and like rocks, but soon after he became gravely ill, to the point that he was practically on his deathbed. One day, Alba was sitting next to her husband while he was laying in bed, praying that he would get better, and also wondering how she was going to make it if her husband passed away, because she would then be left alone with 5 kids. Just then, she heard a loud creak right in front of her house. Now, the front of her house, she had this very large wooden gate that made this unmistakable sound, and she knew that that in fact was the loud creak. She decided to look out of the window to see who was coming into her home when she saw literally the most grotesque, terrifying thing that she had ever seen in her life. It was this woman standing there that looked almost as if she was disfigured. As Alba sat in front of the window, she saw that this woman was walking towards her, and the woman was out of breath, almost as if she had traveled really far to get there. When she gets to Alba, she tells her, "Do you want to know why your husband is so ill? The reason why he's so ill is because he covered that hole. I am in fact a jinn, and that is our entry and exit point. By him covering that hole, he covered up our portal. The only way that he will get better is if he reopens that hole again. But that is not all we want. We now also want a sacrifice, which I'll do a part 2 on. That will be up right after this." I lost my baby in Mexico. I really did, you guys. When my daughter was about 4 to 5, I lost her almost in Mexico. Let me tell you guys a story time. So my husband has a lot of family in TJ, so Tijuana, Mexico, right? And my father-in-law goes there all the time. He asked us so many times to take the kids. I would never let them go because I am so terrified of them being kidnapped, okay? Terrified. Never let them go at all. So when they were like, my daughter was she was 4 or 5 and my son was 3 or 4. So we agreed that we would go because one of the family members was having a king size. So we go, and the first couple of days I'm just like a nervous wreck because they lived on top of like literally like a cliff almost. It's on a big old hill, like a mountain. So I was just terrified the whole time. I was watching them like a hawk. Like I didn't even enjoy my time because I was watching them so much. So we decided we were gonna go with all of his family to Papas and Beer, right, in Ensenada. So we go. It's probably like 15 of us, all of us together. So we get there, and again, like I'm just a nervous wreck, always watching my kids. So we get there, we get to the beach. We're like by the actual beach. We set up, we get like fruit, we're just hanging out like really by the water for a little bit. Then we decide after like maybe 30 minutes we're gonna go back to Papas and Beer, which is like the water's here and then back, away is Papas and Beer. So we're over there, we get tables, we're like still on the beach, but it's like in the Papas and Beer where they'll like serve you and stuff. So we're over there, and I like don't even really enjoy myself because I'm just watching them so much, and everybody's like, they're fine, you need to relax, like all of us are here, they're fine, like you don't have to be so like, they're fine, okay? So I tell my daughter, I was like, hey baby, go get the sunscreen, which our bag with all of our stuff was like a
foot or two away from me. So I told her, grab the sunscreen so I could reapply your sunscreen. And I was a freak about their sunscreen too. So as she was doing that, I start talking to one of his family members. Like, I let down me watching her like a hawk for probably 50 seconds. Like, it was very, very short, because I immediately realized, where's my daughter? She didn't bring me the sunscreen. So I look to see like where's she at, and I don't see her. So I'm like looking around the table, and I'm like, where's Adriana? I tell my husband, I'm like, where's Adriana? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, where's Adriana? I'm realizing like super fast that I don't see her. I stand up and I immediately start, I'm like, where's Adriana? Like, screaming. And everybody's like, I don't know. I'm like, she was just right here. Like, where's she at? And I was fucking screaming, you guys. Like, everybody's like, I don't know. Like, nobody like realized what was going on, what happened. I was like, she was just right here. I told her to get the sunscreen. And like, oh, you guys, it still like gives me shivers. So I'm screaming, running around this place. Everybody's looking. We cannot find her. So at least 4 minutes passed at this time, and it felt like a fucking lifetime. We didn't see her. And then my husband like is looking down by the beach, and he sees her little head like bopping as she's walking. He's like, she's right there. And we run up to, I literally run, and I grab her, and I'm just like fucking sobbing. And she's like, what? Like, she had no idea. And I go, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, I was getting the sunscreen. I will still never forgive myself, you guys, because of what possibly could have happened. And it was my fault, because I told her to get the sunscreen, and she thought the sunscreen was where I first put it on her. I guess she didn't realize that we took all of our stuff, you know, to where we were. Like, she thought everything was still down by the beach. So she was just so innocently doing what I asked her to do, and went to get her sunscreen. And yeah, I thought my daughter got kidnapped in Mexico. And needless to say, we never went back. Ever. I was, you guys, to this day, like, I still get shivers about it, because it was fucking terrifying. Like, your worst nightmare, that was my worst nightmare of what could possibly happen, almost, and basically it happened, you know, but thank freaking Jesus she was okay. But oh Lord,
should we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
If a person ever happens to jump into the car and tell you that somebody's chasing them for their soul, you should believe them. Robert is an Uber driver that was working late one night. It was probably a little bit past midnight when he received a ride request of somebody waiting for him just at the edge of town. When he got to the location of the pickup, he saw a guy get into the back seat. The minute the guy got into the back seat, Robert could tell that there was something wrong with the guy. The guy was acting very erratic. He kept checking all of the back windows and like looking in the back, like rear, like almost as if someone was chasing him. At first, Robert tried to ignore it because he had been doing Uber for a while and was used to all different types of people like getting into his car. So he just assumed that eventually it would just quiet down. But as time went on, he noticed that the guy became more and more erratic. And at this point, he was breathing really, really heavy, almost as if he was getting ready to have a panic attack. Finally, Robert decided to kind of turn around and ask the guy, like, hey man, are you good? The guy shook his head and said, no, she's looking for me, and she won't stop until she takes my soul. Robert's at first a bit startled by this, but then 100% is convinced that the guy must be on something. He then tells the guy, you know, it's all right, man. No one's gonna get you. You're perfectly safe. And they continue to drive. Once they get to a red light, Robert stops. He notices that the guy gets even more frantic and starts to yell, pretty much telling Robert that he needs to go. But Robert is like, it's a red light, like I can't go. He then tells Robert, look, like she's right over there. Robert happens to look up and sees her. It is a woman dressed in all black. Her face is all white out, and he can make out that her hands are literally like the color of this paper. He knows that what he's staring at is death, and he is terrified. Before he even has a chance to react, the guy completely loses it. He jumps out of the back seat and runs straight into oncoming traffic. He was hit head on, and the guy did not make it. So she essentially ended up getting what she wanted, which was his soul. After all that took place, Robert was, of course, completely shaken. The cops were called. It was like a whole thing, but he was never able to figure out why she was after him or what was really after him. But all he knows is that is literally a ride that he will never forget.
Hey friends, if you want to hear something scary, don't scroll. This story is about me and a girl who are not friends anymore, so I'm not going to use her real name. I'm going to refer to her as S in this story. So when I was 12 years old, I was living in a really small town where basically everybody knows everybody. And if you're familiar with small towns, you know that means that, like, for the kids, there's not much to do. You have to go find your own fun, which usually results in you getting in trouble or doing something wrong. So honestly, a lot of the times, me and many of my friends would go on Omegle or Kick or... there was one more too, but I can't remember. But this particular day, I almost said her name. This particular day, S and I went on Omegle and we were talking to this guy, this really fucking weird guy. So we're talking to him and he was friendly at first, but then things went downhill really fast, as it does usually when a 12-year-old is talking to a grown-ass adult on a website such as Omegle. I'm so glad that shit is banned. I don't have to worry about my daughter ever finding out about it. But anyways, we were talking like deeply with this man, and I was pretty confident in that because I was like, oh, it's just online. Like, there's no way he can like find out where we are. There's no way. Wrong, bitch. Anyways, the fucking what made us hang up was when he was like, so how old are you girls? Blah, blah, blah. And we told him that we were 12 years old. And he said, ooh, I bet you guys are sexier in person. We were like, yeah. And then this motherfucker whips out his dick and just starts slonging it around in front of us and is like, you like that? We hung up so fucking fast. But little did we know that he actually already found our location. I don't know how. We were on her sister's computer. We were not supposed to be on her sister's computer. So I don't really know like what kind of location settings she had going on her computer. And it was back in the day too, where things were not as like securely locked down as they are now. So I'm assuming it was relatively easy for him to find out where we were from. So anyways, after we hung up, we thought that would be the end of it. We like stopped going on Omegle for a couple weeks after that, and we were like, fuck no, we're not doing this anymore. But after that initial call with that guy on Omegle, we started to notice a new vehicle in our town, which is something that you do recognize in a very small town, in a very small community like we were in. Like I said, you know everybody when you live in a small town like that. You are a community. So we automatically knew that there was like a new vehicle in the town, and we were like, oh, okay, like somebody moved here, great, cool. Then we realized that this van, yeah, it was a black van, by the way. It was a black van, not like a regular creepy creeper white van. No, it was like a black van, and it was like one of those short ones. It didn't have windows, whatever. And the license plate was not from our state. I can remember that, but that was like normal for us because our town is one that like you have to cross through to get to one of the most famous mountains that we have in this area for skiing and snowboarding and whatever. So we were used to seeing out-of-state license plates. We didn't really think much of it until we started noticing that this van was following us around. It was everywhere we were. And we were kids that would always be outside. And if we weren't outside, we would be inside fucking around on the computers doing shit we weren't supposed to be doing. So whatever, we started noticing that this car was following us around, and we didn't want to say anything to the adults because we knew for fucking fact if we said something to the adults that they would cut us off from all contact, walking outside by ourselves and hanging out more like we always do. And we did not want that. We were like, yeah, we can handle it ourselves, whatever. Like, whoever this is, that we're gonna beat them up, like, whatever. And oh my god, I remember the first time I ever got a glimpse of who was in the driver's seat one day when he was actually like following us down a busy street. It was on Main Street, so like there was people around, and I'm sure that that's why he didn't do anything that day. But when I saw that it was the same guy we were talking to on Omegle a couple weeks back, I was in shambles. I was like, this is like panicking, trying to tell her that that's who it was. And at first she didn't believe me. She was like, you're just paranoid. Like, there's no way that he'd be able to find out where we were. And for a while after she said that, I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, there's no way that he knows where we are. There's no way that it's the same guy. You're right. I'm just being paranoid. But then there was one day that we were walking home from the town pool, which was like not very far from her mother's house. So we were walking back to her mom's house, which was like off of a side street. So like you go down a side street, a paved side street, and then there's the dirt side street off of the side street. So like there's not very many people back there. And the side streets in that town are very windy too. So like even if there was a person, like they could be around the corner and they're not going to be able to see you from just like slightly around the corner. So we were walking home to her mom's house having a grand old time when here comes the fucking black van. We didn't even notice it. So we're like walking like do straight this way. Here comes the van from behind us, and then we're do and it fucking pulls up and cuts off the entire way of the dirt road that we're walking down to get to her mom's house. So I remember stopping, looking at her. It seemed like it was like 2 minutes of us staring at each other, but I think it was more like 2 seconds. Without saying a word to each other, we literally both booked it to the right as fast as we could. Because if you go right to where we were, it was like a wooded area that led to her mom's house, but it was like an unkempt wooded area. And we were walking home from the town pool. We had no shoes on. We were in our bathing suits. We were running through the woods, through the sticks, and I remember my feet were ripping. I could feel shit poking into my feet. It was so painful, and I wanted to stop, but I didn't want to stop and get fucking killed. I didn't want to experience the pain of being murdered. So anyway, once we got into her mom's house, we ended up locking all of the doors, all of the windows. Nobody was there at the time. Her parents worked a lot, and her siblings were older, so they were like always gone. But yeah, we were there alone, and after we locked up the entire house, we started looking out the window to like make sure that he was like not gonna come try to find us. And this motherfucker pulls into the driveway of her parents' house. Like, what if somebody was there? First of all, he probably knew that nobody was there because no cars were there, obviously. But like, he pulled into the driveway of her mother's house, and when we saw that, we were like, what the fuck, we gotta go hide. So we ran to the basement where her sister's bedroom was. It was like a weird setup in the basement. Like, her sister's room was like kind of locked away in the corner. Like, you could easily hide in there and like have nobody know that it was like a bedroom inside. So we were hiding in there for hours, for fucking hours, until we heard her stepfather come home. And even when he got home, we didn't say anything to him. We were just like, oh yeah, we were hanging out in so-and-so's room downstairs. And it was literally, we just went about our lives after that. We did see the black van a couple more times. Anyways, we did see the van a couple more times, but nothing like seriously bad happened again like that. And then after a couple more days, we never saw the van again. So I'm assuming he gave up. I'm hoping he didn't find another victim. I'm assuming he did because he was a fucking predator. But that's the time that my friend and I almost got kidnapped from a guy that we met on Omegle. Yeah.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Grab a blanket and a snack. Me and my sister girl here have another scary story time for you. So we're gonna call her Sam. Sam just bought a beautiful new Victorian home. It is obviously very old, but very beautiful. She said that it had some things that need to be repaired, but for the most part, it's just gorgeous. So she's exploring her new home. I mean, like I would do. She goes up to the attic and she sees this old, like, antique mirror. It's got the wooden frame and it's got the floral, like, carvings, but it was covered up in the attic. Now, she did say she felt kind of uneasy about it, but it was so beautiful that she just ignored that feeling, which you should never do. And she took it downstairs to set it up. So she set it up in her living room, and she said nothing really happened the first night. Everything was relatively normal, and then small things started to happen. One night she was watching TV, and she just like glanced into the mirror, and she said the reflection of the room behind her in the mirror looked way darker than what it should have, and when she turned around to look, it was bright and lit. But this was a really small thing, and she's like, okay, it's probably just the way the mirror looks or how it reflects, or it's just like a trick of the light. So she ignored it. Well, when she went to bed, she heard scratching coming from the living room, almost like something was being dragged on wooden floors. But she was thinking that maybe it was just the house settling. I mean, it's an old house. And she also was like, maybe I left a window open somewhere. So she goes and checks all the windows in the living room where the sound's coming from, and they're all closed. And then over the next few days, things just gradually get more active, which is pretty typical for a haunting or any kind of haunted object. They start small. So then one morning she wakes up and goes into the living room, and the mirror is like tilted all of a sudden, and there's no one else in the house to tilt it. But again, she wrote it off. She's like, maybe it just, I don't know, tilted on its own, like it just kind of slid over a little bit or something. But then
She came home from work one night and looked at herself in the mirror, as we do when we see a mirror. And she said her reflection looked off. Her face looked pale in the mirror and her eyes looked really dark, almost black. And it felt like her reflection was watching her rather than her looking at herself. She also said that when she would move or when she glanced away, that there was almost a lag in her reflection following doing what she was doing. So that's really weird. Because of these occurrences, she really couldn't sleep. She would wake up feeling exhausted. She was having nightmares when she did sleep. And then she started to see a figure standing behind her when she would look in the mirror. So aside from the terrifying visuals she's getting in this mirror, she has also the typical signs of something dark being in your home, like your lights flickering, the energy feeling dark and oppressive, shadow figures, footsteps, all the signs that something not good has been activated in this home, and common denominator here is the freaking mirror. So finally she's like, it's the mirror, it has to go. And she ends up taking it off the wall and dragging it out back to her trash bin and puts it in her trash bin. She said that the house felt better at first and everything was good until one night she hears scratching at her window and she looks outside and the mirror was no longer in the trash can. It was leaning up against the window where she was hearing the scratching. So maybe let's not mess with old, covered up, hidden, tucked away items.